Okay, let's begin. Shemuel, Perek, Yud Gimel. So this is a fun Perek, but let's just remind ourselves where we left off. We left off, Shemuel became the king, Shemuel re-anointed Shaul as the king in Perek Yud Bet, right? So it was a couple of weeks ago, and he brought the people back together after Shaul went to war against Ammon, and he saved the people of Yavesh Gilad. The people got very excited. Shemuel came, he regathers the people, and they re-anoint Shaul as king. And it seems to be, after speaking about this process of a king for 12 Perakim, we're now up to Perek Yud Gimel. Finally, the kingdom is solidified. There's a king. We got the right Navi. The right Navi grew up. He appointed the right king. Everything, they're looking forward to something wonderful. And keep in mind, really, what we're looking forward to, the big thing that Hashem told told Shemuel, is that we need somebody, Lehoshia et Ami biyad Pilishtim, to save my people from the Pilishtim. So we went through this whole process of getting the king, and finally we're ready, and everybody's excited. And now this Perek is actually going to be the backdrop to the war against the Pilishtim. We'll see, we won't get to war exactly in this Perek. We'll get close to war, but not exactly war. And the following Perek, they'll have the war against the Pilishtim. So that's our background. So as a reader of the Tanakh, we should be very excited. Okay, finally the kingdom is on its way, and let's see what's going to happen.
Why did Shmuel in his speech said, God is wrong, he didn't need anyone, he did everything?
Yeah, again, right, so true, but then remember what happens. The people say, no, we're sorry, and he says, it's okay, listen, remember when you have your king, let's don't forget about Hashem. But he, right at the end of the Perek, here, let me see if I can show you quickly, right, Shemuel did say, no, okay, follow the king.
No, he did say okay, but he said everything is fine. God did not need anyone, basically.
Yeah, God doesn't. God doesn't. But the people,
God doesn't know about it.
Okay. Right. The people needed, right, to have somebody. Okay, fine. So, but I'm saying, okay, imagine. So maybe not the reader, but I think also the reader, if you like the idea of the kingship. But imagine you're somebody from Am Yisrael at the time. Okay, now we're ready to go. We're ready to become a nation, right? Think, let's keep that in that head in mind, that we surpassed all the hurdles, so we're really now expecting something positive to start. And this leads us to this pasuk aleph, which is perhaps one of the more crypter pasukim in Tanakh. So it goes like this: Ben shana Shaul b'mulcho, u'shtei shanim malach al Yisrael. Right. So literally, meaning Shaul is 1 year old when he reigns, and he reigned for 2 years over Israel. So
he's not 1 year, Robert. He's not 1 year old. He's king for 1 year.
Okay. Right. So that's correct. That's what they all do, right? What do you mean 1 year old? Ben shana Shaul b'mulcho, meaning no. His melucha is 1 year. Correct. But notice,
yes.
Keep in mind,
he's 1 year. It's his first anniversary, let's say, of being the king, for lack of a better phrase.
Correct. So now keep in mind, all the commentators essentially concur with Pshat, but let's point out that's not actually what's written, right? Meaning, if it was that way, I agree that this is how you have to explain it, but it should have been written Shana limloch Shaul al Yisrael, or something like that, right? He Shana limloch Shaul al Yisrael, right? Normally when we say Ben blank Shana, imagine, right? It should be Ben 40, I don't know, Ben Arba'im Shana Shaul b'mulcho. And by the way, they point out, and I'll try to give you a quick one very quickly, that this is how normally a king is introduced in Tanakh. So watch this. Yeah, I'll give you a very quick one. Melachim Aleph. We'll go to
Yehoash, right? Ben Shabash Shanim.
Okay.
Yehoash B'Malcho.
Okay, that's a good one. That's
He
definitely a nice one.
was 7 years old, right?
Right, I'm going to give you one here. It's the same idea. It's the same idea. Rehav'am ben Shlomo Malach Yehuda. Ben 41 shana Rehav'am ben Mulcho. Right. So, but Isaac, you could say Yehoash ben Sheva Shanim Yehoash ben Mulcho. That's normally what we do, right? We introduce a king by how many years old? Ben X shana Rehav'am ben Mulcho. So really, Teddy, that's why it's surprising that even though you're correct, hypothetically, I could explain the pasuk the way you said it. We're really expecting blank something shana sha'ul b'mulcho. We're expecting an amount of years, and almost as if, and here's a suggestion, I thought it's a fascinating suggestion, that it's left out on purpose. It's like not important. It doesn't matter how old Shaul was when he was Melech. Right? So again, now keep in mind that Lefi Pshat, I'm going to interpret it. No, he was a year into his reign. But again, like we said, that's not the way you write it, and nor is it the way you introduce a king. Normally should be Ben the amount of years. And it's like, no, I'm not interested in telling you how old Shaul was when he reigned. Why would I not be interested in telling you how old Shaul was when he reigns over Israel? Let's see if somebody wants to suggest. Why might I not
say that question again, Rabbi?
Meaning, if it's really like the text left it out, it's supposed to be Ben Arba'im or whatever amount of years, and it just left out the age. But it's saying the age is not important. And it's trying to tell you the age is not important. Ben X Shana Sha'ul B'Mocho. Why would the text want to tell me it's not important? Go out of its way to say it and leave out the actual age.
Because he was only king for 2 years.
Because he didn't ascend to the crown, he was nominated.
No, by the way, okay, so say B'Mocho, B'Hamlicho. I don't know about that he was nominated. I think more perhaps there's something else happening here. And here's an interesting suggestion, and it's a foreshadowing of the text if this is true. Ultimately, is Shaul's reign important to us? Think about that in big picture. Is Shaul's reign important? Right, what happened?
It's important because it was the first.
Yeah. No, okay, but that's not what I mean.
No, it is important because it moves from Benjamin to Yehuda.
No, but that's not Shaul, though. Keep in mind, Shaul is from Binyamin.
Yeah, but it is also important because it goes from the era of the Shoftim into the era of Melachim.
Okay, good. No, okay, so the fact that Shaul is the first king is important. But now look what I'm saying. Are the statistics of Shaul's kingdom important? And here I would say the other thing you said. No, because it's going to shift very rapidly from Malchut Binyamin to Malchut Yehuda. Ultimately, I don't need the statistics about Malchut Shaul. What was important? The fact that he was the king. How old he was, it doesn't matter. No one's maintaining Shaul's royal lineage. It's all going to disappear. And that's why, if this is the correct interpretation to the pasuk, what it's really doing is almost like a punch in the gut to the reader. Yeah, Ben Shana Shaul ben Malchova. How old exactly? How many Shana? No, forget about it. It doesn't matter how many Shana. It's not really important. But Malchut Shaul is not important. What do you mean Malchut Shaul is not important? Answer: because his kingdom is going to fall. When is Shaul's kingdom going to fall? In this Perek, which is fascinating. Right? You think we're setting up something and now his kingdom is about to take off. It doesn't even get off the ground. He's reigning for a year. And he's going to reign for another 2 years. Now, in order to understand this, if you look, he's chasing David for years. How could you tell me Shaul is only king for 2 years? The amount of time he's chasing David takes time. And they said he reigns for 2 years until David gets anointed, which I think makes a lot of sense here. his actual kingdom from our perspective, 2 years from this story, the story of this war, and the following story, which is going to be the story of Amalek, and then David is going to be anointed as king, which is kind of a crazy idea. That almost we get this sense of Ben Shana Shaul b'Melcho Shtei Shanim Alach al Yisrael. He's done with already. Don't get too excited from these stories that are going to come, because the end is coming before you can even imagine. So listen, obviously, I could only read that way, knowing the continuation of the story. Granted, right? I can't tell you that as someone should reasonably expect to see those words and say, "Oh, yeah, of course, his kingdom is going to fall," because it doesn't tell you how many years. It just left out the years. But it could be a foreshadowing of the text once we kind of know the story, which would be interesting. I don't know, so I'll leave it to you to kind of play it out there. But yes, otherwise, for our purposes, Shaul is now reigning for a year. He's going to reign for 2 years, again, until David comes on the scene. So let's see what Shaul does. Okay, very exciting. ויבחר לו שאול פסוק ב' 3,000 מישראל. ויהיו עם שאול 2,000 במחמס, ובהר בית אל, ו1,000 היו עם יונתן בגבעת בנימין. ויתר העם שילח איש לאוהליו. So Shaul does something funny. What does he do? He takes an army, he sends home his army, Shilach Ish Ohalav. He maintains a small force, 2,000 he has with him, and Michmas Harbe El, which is kind of central Israel, right? Think like a few kilometers above Yerushalayim. And Elif Hayu in Yonatan Begiv'at Binyamin, also in the area of Binyamin. Yonatan seems to be somewhat close by. And by the way, it's interesting. Who is Yonatan? We don't know this yet, but we're going to find out later. This is the first time he's mentioned. Yonatan obviously is going to be right. It's going to be the son of Shaul, but it's like this weird thing. It's that he's almost not introduced properly, right? All of a sudden, there's somebody Yonatan. Okay, and Yeteraham Shilach Ish Ohalav. He sends the rest of the army home. He sends the rest of Am Yisrael, they're home. Okay. Now, what's happening? Why are we setting this up? For the following pasuk. Vayach Yonatan et Nitziv Pilishtim asher begeva, vayishme'u Pilishtim, v'Shaul taka b'shofar b'chol haaretz lemor, yishme'u ha'ivrim. So what happens? Yonatan goes, he kills this Nitziv Pilishtim in Geva. Geva is a Jewish town in Binyamin. He's the emissary of the Pilishtim. I don't know, we'll call him like the governor or whatever it is, that probably collects the taxes from the Jews, right? So he has his office there as the conquering nation. Yonatan goes in, he kills him, by Yishme'u Pilishtim, and the Pilishtim are put on notice right away, because what are you doing if you're killing the governor appointed by the foreign occupying power? Essentially, what you're doing, you're creating a rebellion. So we have a rebellion going on, and Shaul blows the shofar, b'chol haaretz lemor yishma'u ha'ivrim, right? That sound of the shofar, taka shofar, almost gives us that sense of freedom, right? Where the revolution is in the air, everybody's excited, and this is, by the way, a plan of Shaul that probably goes all the way back to when he spoke with Shemuel. Remember, we saw he was speaking to Shemuel. They were speaking privately, and he tells him, "You're going to have to wait for me 7 days to bring the Qurban." Here is our story now. When is he going to have to wait 7 days for him to bring the Qurban? When he declares a rebellion against the Pilishtim. This was Shaul's purpose, to help the Jewish people fight off the yoke of the Pilishtim. So this is a positive thing. They're taking the right actions. They're setting up the situation, and indeed in Pasuk Dalid, B'chol Yisrael Shameru Lemor Hika Shaul et Nitziv Pilishtim, V'gam Niv'ash Yisrael B'Pilishtim, V'yisaku Ha'am Acharei Shaul HaGilgal. Very exciting. All the people here, they're all coming, they're rallying around Shaul. I noticed, by the way, I think this is interesting. What did they hear? He kash Shaul at Nitziv Pilishtim, right? Shaul gets the credit. He's the king. He gets the credit. It wasn't him who did it, but it was under his auspices. And Shaul is ready to rebel against the Pilishtim. Am Yisrael is coming. Okay, and they gather in the Gilgal. The Gilgal is the place where Shemuel had told Shaul to wait in order to bring the Korban. So that's why they know to gather there in Gilgal.
Can I just add, sorry,
yeah,
a bit of a,
yeah,
maybe more of like a bit of a geography question, right? But so the Pelishtim are on the Pelishtim, right? They're generally like on the coast, right? Let's say like Gaza, Ashkelon,
right.
right?
On the
So
on the west,
so
on the
where are
western
they?
coast.
But so how are they in? So what? They travel up the coast and then like through the Shvelat, because this is all these towns are like central Israel,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's like how are they? You
So
know, where are they coming from, right? You're not
so
talking
they
about, you know, you're not talking about coastal towns here.
right. No. So they essentially control Israel. They made a complete incursion mainland, inwards, all the way
Mhm.
towards the Jordan River, to the point where they have tax collectors in Givon, cities of the Philistines in the central plains of Israel, and Be'el. That they made it all the way. They really think about it in a different way. Am Yisrael is conquered by the Philistine, and they're just paying taxes to them. We're going to see in this Perek, okay, so I'll point this out now. We're going to see in this Perek, and I think this will give you a better sense. They're so controlled by the Philistine to the point where the Philistine do not allow any metal workers in the land of Israel proper. There's no blacksmith in Israel. There's no harash. If you need to fix a farm tool, you have to go to the land of the Philistine, to the Philistine blacksmithery, and he's going to fix your metal for you. Why did the Philistine do this? They're denying the Jewish people a chance to work with metal, and therefore they do not have weapons. But Isaac, so maybe this will help you understand how much control they have over the country. That they're literally, there's no blacksmith in the whole country. There's no metal workers because the Philistine won't allow it. If somebody's working with metal, the Philistine are going to come and they're going to burn down the smithery. They're going to kill the person, and that's it. They run the country, which
Right.
is
No,
right.
I
Yeah,
guess I was asking, right? Because like one of the last times that like we really encountered Pelishtim, right, was around the Aron, right? But that
right.
was very much centered like in the Pelishtim sort of home base, right, of those coastal
Ah,
coastal towns,
only the
right? But
travels of the
now,
Aron, not the war, though. Remember, the war, they made it all the way to Shiloh. They destroyed the Mishkan in Shiloh,
yeah, okay,
right?
all right,
Right?
yeah,
Keep that in
okay,
mind. Yeah, the Philistine, they inhabit the coast, but they
right.
control
But
the
they must
mainland.
have they must have come through the Shvela or whatever the middle, and then just
Right.
sort of fanned out all over the
Right.
place.
So
Okay,
I don't. It could be Isaac. It could be they're not even settled. They're just enforcing tax collection and laws. Right. They're a conquering
okay.
nation, so they don't need to live there. That's why it could be easy for Jonathan to walk into a Jewish city and kill the Philistine governor. It's probably not too hard, especially if you have 1,000 people. I don't know how many people the Philistine have in a garrison in each individual city of Am Yisrael. Right. So keep that in mind. You have to view them as they're just really there to collect taxes. Think of I don't know, the story of Hanukkah when the Greeks conquer Israel, and so they don't have, not all of Greece lives in Israel. They live where they live. There's a conquering thing, and they have small garrisons together. And that's why originally the Maccabim have quick victories because they wipe out the small garrisons until they bring in a big army, and then it's a bigger problem. Okay, so now very good. Philistine say, okay, you want to go to war? No problem. So this brings us Pasuk. ופלישתים נאסו להילחם בישראל 30,000 רכב, 6,000 פרשים, ועם כחול אשר שפת הים לרוב, ויעלו ויחנו במכמס קדמת באבן. So the Philistine come, they have 30,000 chariots, 6,000 horse riders, footmen we can't even count, kahol asher al safat hayam larov, which is like Am Yisrael is supposed to be blessed with that number, and they come and they settle down in Bichmas, right, opposite of where the Jewish people are, and the Jewish people look at the army. Ish Yisrael ra'u kitzar lo ki nigash ha'am. They're like, what did we do here? The Philistine are serious. Okay, it was cute. It's exciting, right? Hey, rebelling. Yeah, let's go to war. All of a sudden, they see the army that the Philistine bring, they realized they're in trouble. ויתחבאו העם במערות ובחבחים ובסלעים ובסריחים ובבורות ועברים עברו את הירדן Eretz Gad v'Gilad. Look at those words. So they're all running away. They're running to the mountains. They're going to hide silaim or rocks. They're hiding behind rocks, right? They're in complete disarray. But I think Pasuk Zion is really crazy. They're crossing the Jordan River. That's how scared they are of the Philistine. They don't want no part in this. What did we do? We don't know. So they're running to Eretz Gad, Gilad. Thank you very much. Have a good day. We'll see you later. Shaul, you can enjoy. And then Shaul odenu b'Gilgal b'chol ha'am hardu acharav, and Shaul's hanging around in Gilgal, and he's waiting for Shemuel, and whoever didn't run away is with him, and he's waiting and he's waiting and he's waiting. And here's the interesting part of our Perek. This is what our Perek cares about. We don't care about these military things. Here's the heart of the Perek. ויאכל 7 ימים במועד של שמואל. ולא בא שמואל הגילגל, ויפס העם מעליו. He's waiting for the 7 days. Each day, Shemuel is not coming. Each day, more and more of the people are scattering, right? You could almost think that what these people are probably saying. This guy, Shaul, is going to help us. He's paralyzed. He has to wait for Shemuel. Shemuel's not coming. Shemuel wants no part of him. If you're a regular guy of Am Yisrael, if you didn't run away the first day or the second day or the third day or the fourth day or the fifth day, but in the 6th day, you're definitely running away. Shaul realizes he has a problem. So at the 7th day, Vayomer Shaul, okay, enough. Hagishu Elai Ha'olah Behashelamim Vaya'al Ha'olah. Okay, I don't know. I got to take action. I got to be my own man. I have to be independent. The Navi is not coming. The people are not believing in me. Bring me the sacrifice. I'm going to offer the sacrifice. So, of course.
Rabbi Ishmael playing politics again.
No. Okay.
He wants to show that Shaul, he was solving the problem. They didn't need Shaul, and now he's not coming. Let Shaul help you. Let's see what he can do.
No, so let's see Shemuel's words when he gets there. Right? Well, let's see. We'll see Shemuel's words when he gets there. Yeah, then you can make your decision. I will do it like that. Okay. So after Pasuk Yudalit, then you can tell me what you think.
Okay.
So of course, the second he finishes, who comes? Shemuel, right? Perfect timing. So now here's interesting. Right? Shaul comes out to greet him, to welcome him, right? Like unashamed. Okay, I did what I needed to do. You weren't here. Okay, now you're here. Hazak Baruch, welcome. Pasuk Yud Aleph. Vayomer Shemuel me'asita. What'd you do? You offered the sacrifice, right? I guess I don't know. He sees it, he smells it, whatever it is. What'd you do? Now here's the response. Vayomer Shaul. Ki areti ki nafatza me'alai. ואתה לא באת למועד הימים, ופלישתים נאספים מכמס. So look what he says. He says, listen, hey, נפץ העם מעלי, the people are scattering. אתה לא באת, you didn't come, it's the 7th day, you're not here. And the Philistines are gathering. ואומר, עתה ירדו פלישתים אלייך גילגל, ופני אדוני לא חיליתי. ותפק בעלי העולה. He says, wait a minute, there's going to be a war, and I didn't offer the sacrifice to Hashem. Right? Penei Hashem lo hiliti. Think of the words by Hal Moshe at Penei Hashem. Right? I didn't supplicate God. What am I going to do? There's going to be a war. How could I go to war without supplicating God? Okay, so I strengthened myself. I took initiative. And I offered the sacrifice. Right? You didn't come. The Philistines are here. The people are running away. And I did what I needed to do. Right? So interesting, right? Because we're used to Shaul not asserting himself. And all of a sudden, Shaul really here asserting himself, laying down the law. Listen, it's not my fault. It's your fault. I'm here. I did what I needed to do. I don't know. I can't help. Look at Shemuel's response. I'll read this, and then we'll see what we do. Two pesukim. Pasuk Yud Gimel and Yudalet. Vayomer Shemuel el Shaul, niskalta, ושמרת את מצוות אדוני אלוהיך אשר ציווך, כי עתה הכין אדוני את ממלכתך אל ישראל עד עולם, ועתה ממלכתך לא תקום. ביקש אדוני לו איש כלבבו, ויצווהו אדוני לנגיד על עמו, כי לא שמרת את אשר ציווך אדוני. So, you fool, right? Niskalta. You didn't follow what Hashem commanded you. If you waited, Hashem would have established your kingdom forever, because this was his test. He was testing you. Are you going to be reliant upon him, Bikesh Hashem lo ish kilvavo, in order to make him lagid alamo? And you didn't wait for God. You took matters into your own hand, right? This is the ideal, if we could put it this way. What Shemuel is telling him, you know what the ideal of the Jewish king is? Is that you don't get to make these decisions. Yes, the people are running away. Yes, the Navi has not yet come. And it seems to be, based on what he's saying, probably at the advice of God. He's coming when he's coming. Yes, the Philistines are getting ready to go to war. Yes, you probably want to offer a sacrifice before you go to war. But you don't get to make decisions. Who gets to make decisions? In Am Yisrael, Hashem gets to make the decisions. You are not the real king. You are just the puppet following God's commands. And you forgot to realize that. Right? So, obviously,
Rabbi,
yeah.
To say this is a harsh.
But he's using it to prove to Am Yisrael that Shaul is not good for them. And
Rabbi, this Perek has gotten me and Yossi to agree. Almost.
Okay, yeah, I see what's happening.
I don't want to go over the edge.
Right. I see what's happening.
But why?
Then
Then why appoint him in the first place?
Right,
I mean,
okay,
it's like, why would you?
Wait,
No,
okay, so
no.
let's
But
back
meaning,
up. Let's back
but
up.
this is why I don't understand. I'm not so sure I understand your argument, because it's like, why would you purposely set him up for failure?
Right.
Why are you purposely? Why are you purposely?
Yes,
why? So yeah, but why?
I tell you why. Because Shemuel wanted to retain the power of Am Yisrael, and Shaul was a competition.
But Shemuel did not.
Power.
Yossi, Shemuel didn't pick
David.
Shaul. Hashem picked Shaul.
Right. So
that is true, but Shemuel is very unhappy. The point. God picked him up, and Shemuel is unhappy about the choice of God.
Okay. Wait. Let me just say one thing first. First, let me say directly to Yossi first, and then I think there's two things happening here. Listen. The question is like this. Yossi wants to view Shemuel as an independent actor, independent of God, right? The problem is, for our purposes of the book, we just can't read it that way, right? We have to assume that Shemuel, when he's giving the prophecy and he's speaking in the name of God, we have no other recourse but to assume he's really speaking in the name of God, meaning keep in mind till the end of the book, he's going to be the one who's going to take away the kingdom from Shaul, give it to David at the behest of God. So I can't when Shemuel is saying, Lo shamarta mitzvot Hashem Elokecha, right? That God was doing this, Bikesh Hashem lo, I can't say, oh, it's really Shemuel was getting involved in allowing his own personal feelings to influence, because then the whole story doesn't mean anything. Then I have to throw out the story and say this is by some political manipulator called Shemuel, and then the story loses its sacredness, and he's not speaking the name of God, and therefore there's nothing for me to learn as a Jew who's seeking to learn the name of God.
It's not true, Rabbi. I don't agree with you, because you are at a transformation point, and this is what happened in many places, where you have now two authorities. You have the king and you have the Navi. The Navi always wants to talk in the name of God. And that's why always the Melachim tried to retain the power to become also in Yehuda too. Eventually, that the Melech is also the Kohen Gadol. It is the most common things which happens in history. However, Shaul, I agree with you. He's not a big intellectual. He was elected to lead a war. He has to resolve the war. He cannot let the Plishtim. But don't forget, the narrative is written probably by Shemuel or Shemuel followers. So they're trying to wrap it up as if, because otherwise God would not have said Shaul has to become a Navi. Don't forget, Shaul went to Navi school and became a Navi. So God could have told him what to do directly. No, Shemuel wants to be the only channel to God. That gives him more power.
Okay.
And I think it is interesting culturally, even though you understand as a rabbi, you want to look at is the religious significance of it. But there is a very significant historical, interesting events, how Israel develops.
Okay, I hear you. I hear you. Okay, I'm not going to agree, but neither of us are going to agree. But I do see. Is that Myron? Did you raise a hand? Is that we have a hand raised on Zoom?
Trying.
Okay. Okay. What do we got?
To
Okay.
get in when Yossi is pontificating. So, so let me offer a compromise.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
why does it have to be this binary thing that Hashem is in control or Hashem is not in control? It seems to me, if you take a step back from the start of the story of the Jewish people asking for a king, Hashem may have all the power, but he doesn't necessarily exercise it all the time. I mean, it seems to me that we had a king in the first place, even if it wasn't the greatest idea, because Hashem was kind of like, no, if this is what they want, this is, what they do. But I think one way to interpret the story is there are events happening, and they're not all because God pointed his finger and they happened. To some extent, Hashem may have just let the story play out. It doesn't mean there isn't some divine mission going on that's going to end up with David.
Mhm.
But it is possible that there's a role that Shemuel plays independent of just carrying out God's mission, and there's a role that Shaul plays, and God is taking a bit of a step back, and he's waiting until the dust settles here. Because it seems to me, otherwise we wouldn't have had God could have just said no when the Jewish people asked for a king. It was a bad idea.
I'd like to add something to what Myron said. You yourself said that God said, I appointed Shaul to save the Jewish people from Plishtim. So when Shaul takes action, when it comes to the last very second, now Shemuel comes and says, how could you do it? I didn't give the signal. But it wasn't Shemuel's business. He was not appointed for it. It was Shaul's business.
So, okay, listen, my only problem with that is Shemuel is telling you that he's calling it mitzvat Hashem Lohecha, right? So, Myron, I hear what you're saying. I do. But I'm just going to point out, keep in mind, I think this is why it's significant, the role of the Navi. And the Navi is coming at that point in time and telling him, you're not following God's word. You didn't follow mitzvat Hashem Elohecha asher sivach, right? There's almost this sense, I mean, and I don't know how to read it any other way, right? God is trying to set up, to ascertain the loyalty of Shaul to see how loyal he's going to be. I mean, right, this is what Shemuel seemingly is telling him. I'm testing you to the extreme, agreed to the extreme, to seemingly almost an illogical extreme, but that's the structure that he seems to want to be set up. But I hear that this is probably a weird story to convince you on. So I will tell you like this. I will tell you, keep some form of idea like this in your head. And as we progress through the Sefer, and we see Hashem dealing with David, and we'll see, is Hashem getting involved in the minutia of David's decisions? And when I mean the minutia specifically, when to go to war, how to go to war, where to go to war, and I think we're going to see something that the situation is a complicated situation. Yes, And Myron, I agree. There's this idea that it's not all coming from God and that there's man initiative. And obviously, the whole idea of a king is because in a certain way, there has to be a step back from Hashem. Whether Hashem wants that, the people want that, but either way, agreed. But it seems to be that we have to fully hash out exactly how this relationship is going to play. So here we're seeing something jarring. Okay, I'll give it to you as jarring, right? Weird. Okay, fine. And what does this mean? What are the ramifications of this? How does this work? What does this mean about the relationship in general between Hashem and the king? I will say like this.
I tell you how it worked out. David never had an Navi hovering over him again.
So yes, you're gonna see.
So
Not
that
true.
is
Not
that's
true.
the last Navi.
Well, that's not true. What about Natan
nominated
Hanavi?
by Hashem, who
Rabbi.
hovers over the king.
But we're
Didn't
gonna
happen
see.
afterwards ever
Yeah.
again.
So yes,
Rabbi.
Natan Hanavi.
Wait. Let me just respond. Yes, I don't want to do it now. That's what I'm saying. We'll see. Let's see what happens with David. We'll see it as we go. We'll see it as we go.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
Rabbi. Very strange to say, but we're giving Hashem a get out of jail free card here, in the sense that he picked Shaul from
Right.
all of Bnei Israel.
Right.
Nothing went right since he picked him.
Right.
And when you look at what Shaul's short reign of 2 years was, and just as you just said, compare it to what David did, I mean, how did David stay king? Shaul did insignificant things relative to what David did. And you want to say David Melech Yisrael, and this, and I'm sticking up for him.
Yeah.
Poor Shaul, what did he do?
Well, okay.
So I'm just, in case I'm not here next week, I'm not buying that Shaul is an abject failure.
Okay, good.
Maybe there's two stories going on here. There's a religious story and there's a military story. And
Okay, nice.
if you think about
Myron, you're blanking out, Myron. I can't hear you. I don't know if other people can, but repeat it, please.
there's a military story and there's a religious story going on. The military story, although it may not be expressed in as much detail, may have been a pretty successful story because the Jewish people were completely disorganized, weren't fighting together, and he was the one, who organized them. And I'm not, I don't think the story, why do you think he's in Gilgal? Okay, is he there for religious reasons or for military reasons? Why does his son attack the Philistines when he's in Gilgal? It seems like it shouldn't have been a random act that he does it when his father's away. Maybe he's up there because he needs to create some space before he can, mount an attack. And what's going on with Shemuel is very much a question of whether he's interfering with his plans. So, but, it may be that Shemuel is conveying the religious evaluation of Shaul as a failed leader, but he may have been a necessary step in the history of the Jewish people insofar as he prepared them to be a military nation that eventually got ruled by David.
Okay, so this is perfect.
I don't see how you could pick Shaul to be anything but a failure. Since his whole reign
but wait.
1 year.
I would describe it as
Myron's telling us something important. Myron's telling us something important. I'll put it this way. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. What do I mean to say? We didn't even see what happens in the war yet, right? We're not going to see it really till the next Perek. But let's pause. Does this mean they're going to lose the war? No. By the way, did what Shemuel tell him here? Did he tell him you're no longer going to be the king? That's not what he says. He says your kingdom is not going to last forever. Ad olam. Okay, fine. But he doesn't tell him you're not going to be the king anymore. He doesn't lose the kingship here. So what Myron is telling us here, it's important also not to overreact. It might be creating seeds for something from a religious perspective, but it doesn't. We have yet to paint them as a fail. Teddy, you're asking a different question. You're already coming from your question you could ask after the Milhama was Amalek. Okay? And I think that's really where it is. When Shaul really loses the kingdom and it's stripped from him by God, okay, so then we'll ask that question, why is he get stripped? What does it take to get stripped from a kingdom? Maybe there's other people who have done other things that seem to be worse. They don't get stripped. Their kingdom is not stripped. So we'll explore those things then. But I think
no, Rabbi, his kingdom is stripped.
No.
Not at that instant.
No, so here, look, okay, let me put it this way. Okay, you're Shaul, right? He tells you, God, which I don't know exactly what that means, right? Adulam, it's not going to be forever. Okay, so now what's Shaul's response?
No, but he tells him, Bikesh Hashem lo. Bikesh Hashem lo ish kilvavo. He told him, "You're done. You're toast."
No. Because God
not today.
Listen, you didn't do what God wanted. Okay, what's Shaul's response?
Rabbi, means one simple thing, that he will not have heirs to the throne.
Okay, good.
So this is really what it means.
No, but Yossi, read the rest of the pasuk. Hashem already picked another king.
No, he didn't. No. God was looking for. No, when he Hashem Lord Ish Kilvavor, meaning he was looking for him, and that was you. He thought it was you. That's what he was looking for, and now he doesn't feel like it's you anymore. Right? But look, notice what he says in Pasuk Yud Gimel. Look at the highlighted words. Right? And this is kind of what Yossi is saying. If you had passed this test, you would have been good forever. Your heirs would have been good forever. So Yossi, I don't know if it's his child who's not going to become a king. Could be his grandchild, his great-grandchild. It's going to happen that it's going to lose the kingship, but it's not a sense of immediacy, right? I think that's important because Shaul doesn't go and say, okay, I'm done. Look what he does. Well, watch this. Well, let's actually read the thing. Let's see what he does, right? And I think and that's why I'm comfortable with this idea that it's unclear exactly what the ramifications of what Shaul is being told here. It's not an abject failure yet. We're not there. We're not ready to cross off Shaul. We're going to see positive things. So watch this. Pasuk Tetvav. Vayakom Shaul ve'al min Gilgal Giv'at Binyamin. Vayishkod Shaul et ha'am hanimtze'im imo keshesh me'od ish. What does Shaul do? What's his response? Shemuel leaves. Shaul starts counting the people. Okay, who is with me? He has 600 people. Okay, no problem. I have 600 people. I have 600 people. ושאול ויונתן בנו והעם נמצאים עמם יושבים בגבע בנימין ופלישתים חנו במכמס ויצא המשחית, I'll just read this very quickly, ממחנה פלישתים 3 ראשים, הראש אחד לפני על דרך עופרה על שועל, וראש אחד לפני דרך בית חורון, וראש אחד לפני דרך הגבול,
By the way, Rabbi, this is the military tactic I talked about. They also divided into 3.
Correct. We spoke about this, right? So it's the second time we're seeing it already in Sefer Shemuel, right? Probably some form of surrounding tactic, and then we get this idea of the Jewish people, they don't have a blacksmith because the Philistines are not allowing them. וידעו כל ישראל הפלשתים לרטוש איש את מחרשתו ואת עתו ואת קדומו ואת חשרתו והייתה פצילפים למחרשת ולעתים ולשוש כלשון הקדומים ולציב הדורבן. They have to go and it tells you the prices that they would have to pay the Philistines to fix their metal, but here's the key. And this is the fascinating story. והיה ביום מלחמת ולא נמצא חרב חנית ביד כל העם אשר את שאול ואת יונתן they have 2 swords for Shaul and Yonatan. There's 600 men. They don't have swords. Shaul and Yonatan have swords. And now the Philistines are coming to attack. We're going to pause here, but think about this. If Shemuel told him, you're going to fail, right? And if it really told him this is going to be an abject disaster, what should we expect when we turn the page and we go to Perek Yudal? What should we expect? What should come out?
This is a suicide mission.
Right, a suicide mission, right? we're going to expect suicide mission. We're going to expect a complete failure, a complete destruction. Shaul is dead, right? Because Hashem is not with Shaul anymore. Instead, I turned to Perek Yud, and the good news is Perek Yud is very wrong. The fact that it's long means that it can't be too bad, right? Because otherwise, suicide mission, they die. But I'm just going to highlight this pasuk right here, just so you get the idea. This is something we're going to have to deal with, right? And I think that's why I think what Myron was saying here is very important. That just because, okay, I don't know, they're setting something up with Shaul, he didn't follow Hashem exactly, something in the lineage, okay, but we're not rejecting Shaul right now as a king. We're not completely down on him. We're not completely out on him. We're not happy with him. We're upset with him. I don't know, long term in the future, is this going to work out maybe? But we haven't thrown him into the garbage. Keep that in mind. There's going to be a war now, and that against all odds, somehow or another, we're going to see that something might happen. So, but I'm telling you, the rest of this idea, this God-king relationship that we're questioning, and this is a good chapter to open it up. But let's not make any hasty conclusions, I will say, and we'll see where it goes as we continue learning Sefer Shemuel, because I think it is really very interesting in that sense. What exactly is supposed to be this relationship between Hashem and Am Yisrael and the king? How does that all these
But I
things
tell you
factor
what,
in?
Shaul